Alright, well, I'm going to try and make a video here, somewhat instructional about what I'm doing with this spekboom. It's been rooted this year, spekboom going like crazy. What I've got here is, I've got one branch coming out here, as you can see, very low. I don't know if you can make that out in there, but I'm going to attempt to saw it off down into the root mass, getting some roots with it, which is not necessary with a spekboom, but I have plans. And then take this one and begin to create a spekboom literati. Yeah, spekboom literati, who cares? The rest of it, using the cut side, I'm going to get that cut side down so that it'll grow roots out from that cut side, and then begin to create a cascade with all the rest of this. Spekboom are pretty easy to work with. You can snack on them while you go. Yes, they are edible. In their native South Africa, they're known as elephant food. Not only do elephants eat them, but I guess people put them on salads too. Unless Andre was messing with me. But they do taste good. I've never gotten sick. So, let's take a crack at this. So, first thing I'm going to do is try and separate this lowest branch. I'm not going to take it out of the pot for that. Yes, the wiggling around could damage some fine roots, but with this material I'm not going to really worry about that, and I think that it's probably safer in the pot than in my clumsy hands trying to saw through things. Only downside is I can't see what I'm sawing through, but again, with this material, I don't give a shit. So, I'm going to take this and try to come down in here. If you can see that, I'll hold it up. That's going to be the line of my cut, right in there. Alright, well this is something I didn't expect, but we'll work with it. All the roots are on this. This was actually coming off of that, but I do still feel confident that I can get this to root in the cascade pot. Not a problem. What I'll probably do is maybe let it sit in there like this, let it recover, let it grow some roots, and then continue with the cascade portion of that one. Sometimes you got to alter your plans as you go. So this is what I'm left with here. The spekboom literati was my main purpose today, so I think that I'm going to have just plenty of roots. And actually, if I change my plans even a little bit more, I probably do not even need to repot this, and I think that I will not repot it. I will simply wire it up straight and let it recover from there. Do some pruning down here to encourage thickness down here, thinness up there, and then start to work on taper with a little bit of movement. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to insert this wire up through the bottom. I'm probably out of the frame there. Send that up through the soil. Put a simple kink in it. This isn't necessarily going to be to hold the tree down. It's just going to be to hold it more in place. So I put just a little bend in the bottom there to hold the wire in place. If you can see that. And then I'm just going to come around the tree with the wire and mainly, again, like I said, you hold it in its upright position. Now, some folks say that wiring spekboom is difficult, and it is because it scars easily, but the other nice thing is you can just pluck and eat foliage out of the way. It'll quickly replace it. Not an issue with this sort of material. I'm using kind of a heavy wire, and I'm not going real tight on it. Again, this is going to be mainly just to hold it upright and to begin to get a little suggestion of movement in it. My new favorite wire cutters, American bonsai tools, but I'm not going to use it for this because it's a little thick for those cutters. But pretty damn sexy pair of Mame Shohin wire nippers. But that's not why we're here. So, using the movement it already has going for itself, being this way, I'm going to just create a little bit of upward movement this way, avoiding the dreaded S curve. And there we go. That was simpler than I intended it to be. Just going to put a little fix on the end of this wire here. A la Colin Lewis method. Loop it around. That way when a storm comes, it won't strip it out for you. So yeah, that's it for this one. Actually, we'll be going in and doing a little pruning on this. I had to stop the camera so I didn't waste your time while I looked at it, but yeah, I'm going to lose some of this in here right off the bat. I'm going to lose that. And one of these two, probably this one with that leaf, and then I'll lose this one. And again, this is just to encourage growth on opposite sides of the tree, so that it sort of bounces on it as it goes. And spekboom have a way of always being opposite. So bar branches are common on spekboom. So I'm going to go and eliminate every other one of those, either sides of the tree. And I will now just leave this as it is. It's a little heavy down here with foliage, but I would like that just to help thicken this up. And knowing the way spekboom work, this is going to be done in a year or two. Well, not done, but that trunk will fatten up quickly, etc. So there's that for that one. Alright, so before I start working this one into the pot, I am going to get some wire on it. Again, using some fairly thick wire just to, I guess what I would call cage wire it. Not so much, the wire's not going to be tight on there because it doesn't need to be. How about that? And again, this is just to get the suggestion of the cascade started, because this is going to take a little while to grow some roots. So really not trying to stress the tree any more than I need to, but I wouldn't mind just getting a little bit of its future motion started. And again, with this stuff, you don't got to worry about knocking a few leaves off. Anyone just starting out in bonsai, I would highly recommend spekboom. Those are the trees that got me started, and they're so simple and forgiving. If someone would have given me a pine tree to start bonsai, I may have lost the interest just because I'd sit there for a year watching it do nothing, and then maybe another year watching it do very little. I was given two 2-inch cuttings of spekboom in 2012, and every time I would cut, within a few weeks I could see what was going to happen. The back budding is quick. The trunks from the 2-inch cuttings are now very thick. So spekboom are awesome to start off with. So now that I got a little bit of wire on it, this one is just an anchor wire. This is the main wire. I'm going to secure it into the pot, and we'll go from there. Alright, so again, with these spekboom, you can see how they like to bar branch. This had one over there, but it's gone. But they do like to make opposite side branches. Not a big deal. I'm going to leave those on for now, so that as this grows and makes roots, it's going to have plenty of energy running, although I'm going to bring these back. General knowledge with spekboom is that you are to let them dry out for a couple days, and then stick them in your potting medium with nothing else. And I've never done that. Everyone says I should, never have, but all my cuttings have always taken and thrived and done very well. So what I like to do is get them a little bit moist, and then get them a little bit of root powder, rooting hormone on there, dust that end, shake off some excess, maybe give it a tap. So it looks like that. And then I'm going to, I've got wires already prepped in the pot. I've got a layer of soil in there. Add a little bit more, bring it up a touch. I'm going to lay that cut end into the soil, secure it down with these 2 wires. I can stop being clumsy for the camera. Ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. Nothing more exciting than watching someone wire a tree into a pot, eh? Alright, so got that wired in there. Get rid of the excess wire. Clumsy enough. Alright, so that's pretty secure in there. Not great, but pretty secure. So now I'm going to get a little more potting medium in there. And again, now this is all pretty well buried in there. I don't mind that. I'm not going to bring the soil up to the top, but if I am lucky, I'll get some nice surface rooting because of it being, the whole base of it being just that little bit buried under the soil. I'm not sure if you can see that. Whoop. If not, so on. And again, don't be afraid just to pluck these leaves off if they're in your way. Spekboom, from what I hear, after the elephants munch on them, they leave all their droppings behind, all their nibbles and crumbs, whatever you might call it, broken leaves, and that is how these propagate. Just from bits of themselves falling onto the ground after being munched on by elephants. Another interesting fact about the old spekboom is that apparently it is one of the #1 carbon dump, if I got that right, plants. In other words, it takes the most carbon out of the air over any other plant. Spekboom velds, as they're called, or spekboom grove here in America. Those apparently are better at getting carbon out of the air than the Brazilian rainforest. In South Africa, and I think other countries now, they're trying to develop spekboom velds for that purpose. It's also food, as we know. So anyways, I've got that in the pot. I've got it secured. I got enough soil in there. This I'm just going to, like I said, just begin to give it its suggestion of downwardness. Bring back a little bit so they're just not all willy-nilly in the way, and that can actually also then, as it grows further, I can begin to decide what I'm going to do for a top and that sort of thing. But for now, that is what we have ended up with. This was far less involved than I thought it was going to be. I thought that would be a lot more involved, but it is what it is. That's it.